on the 19th of August. We are going on to page 67. So you get your textbook open onto page 67. And then we're going to find the password strength folder in our data files. So you go find your data files and get the password strength folder. In chapter 3, data, question 2, password strength. If you have a problem finding it, I will put it on the shared drive for you now with today's date. Okay, there it's going on to RT data now, so everybody can have it instantly with today's date on it. So get that, copy and paste it, and open it. And we will continue with the work. Right, so we have question 2 on page 67, and you need to all be with us at the same time doing this together with today's date folder on RT data. So we're going to look at our program and see what we got. And that's always the fun part. F12, what have we got? What's inside the box? 2 arrays, AR passwords and AR strength. And those are parallel arrays that we're going to have the same box numbers. And so therefore box number 1 will be applicable. Box number 1 of AR passwords will have a corresponding box number 1 of AR strength. That's the picture. And we've done this right at the beginning, so I'm sure you understand that. Those are parallel arrays. That the indices is the correct word for it, not box number. The indices are the same and they're related to each other. The arrays are related in terms of the indices. So now they say generate 10 random passwords. That button for generate 10 random passwords, people, the code was written for you. Okay? So it clears the list box. It's always a good idea to know what the code is doing. We clear the list box. Where's the list box? This one here, LST passwords. And then there's a memo, no, there's LST strength. So this is the list box of the passwords, that's the list box for the strength. In the button generate, for loop for 1 to 20, get the password initialized, and then a random number from 1 to, from 3, actually no, 4, from 4 to 6, I think. Yeah. No. The length of the pass 6, 1 digit, 1 letter, contains special characters. So, right, they don't use random range, people, which is much easier to understand. So, yeah, it's not a 1 to that number minus 1. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So from 3 to 6, random numbers converted to char. This ARR spec is there. It's an array of special characters. And actually, we don't actually have to understand the password, the code, but just assume that it's generating random passwords for now. It'll take too long to actually go through and understand every single line there. So we're going to go and see, we know that that's what's happening. Then write code in the test password button. Now this is where we must write the code. Test password button is going to read the password from the edit box, EDT password. The edit box, I do not see an edit, oh there, it's down below here. There it is, EDT password. That test password button is going to test to see if it's strong or weak. And the strong password meets all the following criteria. The length is, and all of these have to be the same. They have to be true. Okay? It all has to be true. So we can have if then else statements. We could have a case structure. Password contains one digit. Password contains one letter. Password contains one special character. And the length is all of that. So first of all, we're going to go through the password one at a time, one character at a time. Well, we do have the password that we must get, spass. So declare our local variable spass. And we make it equal to the input. That's the very first job to do. It's very easy to get basically confused and like go overwrite code here at this point. So we have to force ourselves to think as clearly as possible when we do problems like this. So we want to get the length. Okay. So I'm making a variable for the length, rlen. Okay, rlen, colon integer. We know the length is an integer data type. Excuse me. We know that the length is an integer data type. So we declare a variable. We're not going to do it yet. We're just looking at all the options here. We know that the password must contain one digit. What is a digit? It's a number. So I'm going to call that variable rcount digit. I'm basically looking at all the requirements and I'm making variables for them. What's the next thing? One letter. So we're going to count the letters. Count letter. We know that's going to be an integer. Okay. So we're counting the digits, counting the letters. We've got our variables for that. We also need to know rcount spec. Rcount special. Now every single one of these conditions must be true. I'm making a variable called rcount spec colon integer. So guess what I'm going to do? Before I even write my code, I'm going to write my result here. I'm going to say if rlen, now what must rlen be? Minimum of 6, so it must be greater than or equal to 6. I'm writing out the condition right over here. And rcount digit must be greater than or equal to 1. And rcount letter must be greater than or equal to 1. And rcount So before I even work out all these things, I'm giving this little endings here. What are we going to do if all of those things are true? Add the password to the list boxes as shown. When all the buttons, okay, display, oh. They're not telling us what we must do. Where must we display it? It determines if it's strong or weak. Well, let's just do a show message, eh? For now, password is strong, else show message, password is weak. Now take note, I haven't written the code to get those numbers. I'm just putting my statement there so that it can be clear to me what I'm supposed to get. I've got to calculate these things. I've got to calculate the length, the digit, letter, counting digits, counting letters, counting special characters. And how am I going to do that? Well, with len. First I'll get the length. Fine. So I've got the length. So we can carry on. You need to all be paying attention to this. I don't actually appreciate it if you're doing other things. You're not doing yourselves any favors here. Got my length. Now I've got to get my number of digits and my number of letters and number of specs. So I'm going to use a for loop to go from 1 to the length of my string. So I'll say for k equals 1 to I len do begin and end. And inside here, we will go and count if things are a digit and if things are a letter and so on. So if s pass character number k. Now I'm going to have to, if I'm worrying about the characters, we'll deal with them just now. But look how we've got to deal with digits. This is how we deal with digits. Very, very complex code here. And you're supposed to know how to do this by now. So if s pass character number k in that set, then we'll increment our counter for our count digit.